Hello, world. Welcome back to this Taxidermy Tech Network. My name is Sarah Darville. I am the daughter of Ken Darville, the owner of Expressions of Wildlife and Taxidermy Tech. And today I'm joined by Jessica Ratliff, who, with her husband, completed the basic whitetail course at Taxidermy Tech. And it's been about 3 years they've been growing their business called White Oak Taxidermy in Madison, Florida. So Jessica and I have a conversation about what they've been up to since completing the course and some of the procedures and practices that have made the business efficient and successful. So we hope that you enjoy this interview, and without further ado, here's Jessica. I want to start then, Jessica, with what is the name of your business and where are you located?
Our business name is White Oak Taxidermy, like the white oak acorn trees, which deer love. And we purchased some property over here where our shop is now about 4 years ago. So we have 40 acres here. And we decided that we needed to build our shop first so we could keep working. And we have grown so much. So our shop is already here, and people are already getting to come to what is eventually going to be our homestead. But we will eventually name our property White Oak Farms, and it'll kind of tie in with our business. So we chose White Oak Taxidermy. Your dad was a good person to reference for that. He said, name it something that's not in the family. That way, in case you decide to sell it, and you can, send it on its way easily. So we did. We chose White Oak Taxidermy. I love it. I love the name. I love our logo. We actually chose it while we were at school. So it was really neat. But yes, White Oak Taxidermy, and we are in Madison, Florida.
So now I wonder, how did you get your unofficial start in taxidermy? Like, what led you to making this decision to get into taxidermy?
Well, um, like probably 5 or 6 years ago, Jimbo was doing European work, and he had, like, both of us always grown up hunting and fishing, and so he started accumulating friends and family, just doing bone work for them. And it kind of started growing word of mouth. And anybody that does, I think, anything in taxidermy, word of mouth is like the mainstream media for it. And it grew, and it just kept growing, and it was growing so rapidly. I was having to help do a lot with him because he was still working full time, and we would have stuff up in the kitchen, and I would be like, we have to get this out of the house. We cannot be doing this inside. So we bought like a little portable building, and we moved everything out there, had some freezers in there. We were literally in like a 12 by 12 portable building with 3 freezers. And so anybody that knows what that's like, that's a lot, and it's in tight quarters. We did that for a little while, until we got to move to our new shop, which is a 20 by 30 here. And we have 6 freezers in here. And this is our showroom that's behind me. But when we moved in here, it was like, oh my, what are we going to do with all this space? It's so wonderful. Um, but I would help him a little bit here and there, like with Europeans and stuff. And I'd skin out a lot of different animals, just hunting and fishing in general on my own, growing up. And so I was always familiar with animals and skinning and doing stuff like that. So it kind of came second nature. And so I would help him a lot. And then I said, we need to, I feel like you need to try actually going to learn to mount a whitetail, and like actually do a shoulder mount. But he had like old school DVDs and stuff like that, and we're very hands on. And so of course, I'm very tech savvy. I was like looking online, and I was seeing all these schools up north and all these places, and stumbled across Taxidermy Tech. And I'm like, there's a place in Pensacola. and it's like it's really, it like seems like it would fit us, and it did, like a glove. It was perfect for us. We weren't in some big group setting. It was just us and your dad when we went to school. And I know he's got extra people in there with him now. So I don't know, if it's still him just one on one. Y'all are blessed, but we were blessed. We had his direction for a full week, and we mounted 3 deer while we were there. And so it was a lot of work, a lot of labor that we neither one of us were even aware of for what it would take to do a shoulder mount. And I think we kind of beat some of the odds by doing 3 in 1 week, because most people don't do that many. And so it was a lot. And we got back home, and Jimbo was like, this is just I don't think really don't think that this is for me. He's like, I don't have the patience for all of this. And we took in deer while we were at school with your dad. People were like, we want to be your first mount. We're like, we haven't even mounted anything yet. They're like, we just want to be your first mount. Like, and it was, close friends and family friends. So like we had deer that we had to do something with, and your dad's like pet peeve was go home and mount, go home and mount, like don't skip a beat. I'm like ordering supplies while I'm at school, like I'm over there at night in the hotel, like, will we need this is on the list, let's get this. And I'm ordering stuff, trying to get it in preparation for me to have to do something when I got back home. And then I just jumped in. And like he was like, he's like, I don't like we're trying to remember our notes and trying to remember what we did. And it just fell. I jumped in and did those 8. And then like deer kept kind of coming in. And of course he's kept up with his Europeans and stuff like that. The second year I did about 24 or 25. The third year I did, last year I ended up with, I think, 87. And so, yes, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. But yeah, so I've always been artistic. Like, I love to paint. And I love music. I write songs. It was really interesting because I didn't know that your dad wrote music till after I got back home and got on the page and stuff and started to get to know him more as a person. But I've just always been artistic, very crafty. So it's just suits me. Like there's just something amazing to me to be able to take something apart and put it back together. And that's pretty much what I feel like I'm doing every day. And I get the chance to make it look like it's supposed to look, maybe, or try to.
Yeah, you do amazing work too.
Thank
And
you.
it's evidenced behind you, but also going to your page and seeing the mounts. And even the first ones that y'all did were,
Oh man, they are so bad. Oh,
wow. It's so
oh
funny when
man.
people say stuff like that. It's like, no, it's incredible. But you can see things about it that you're like, oh, if only.
Yeah, yes. Yes, so many things. I look back at, even like just the other day, I was looking at something and I was like, oh man, like how did I even let that go? Like it was just, to me, it looked pretty decent for, where I was, and people knew I was learning and growing, and we've been so blessed, so blessed. Like people say, hey, you got to start somewhere.
Mhm.
And we've had the best, like, I mean, we've got an extremely phenomenal customer base. So we're very, very blessed and humbled by that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a lot of work, by the way. People might not understand 87 deer in a year is
Yeah.
that is a lot to work
But
with. So,
it's all we're doing. Like because I'm not doing any other animals yet. So
okay.
I try to take that into consideration, because most, like, I even polled our alumni to see, like, I'm like, about how many shoulder mounts are you guys doing? And when I like got like 35 is a good number for me, I was like, Jimbo, oh my goodness, what have we done? Like, what did we do? But I've pulled it off. I've done very well. We got about 3 weeks behind from the storm that we had, that it did a lot of damage to our county. But outside of that, like I'll be within a year turnaround of receiving everything that I did. And I feel extremely proud of that because I did all my tanning in house. I've done all my work here. So I'm very, very proud of myself when I get them all done.
Yeah, that's something to be really proud of. That was actually kind of one of my questions too, is that had you and Jimbo kind of decided he would do the tanning and the skulls now, and then you would do the mounts, but it sounds like you're also doing the tanning for, you're just going through the whole process with the mount.
Yes, I do. I do all my tanning. I have like kind of a schedule that I run through for the week. I actually have my first. I've got kind of a part-time person trying to start out learning, and so she's actually been working and helping me do my turning and tanning. So she works for me 2 days a week, and she's been a huge blessing as my sister-in-law. So that's another blessing too. But before she came along, I was chugging along with just working in my turning, tanning, prep mount. I would do my uh final final touch ups and stuff, and then go right into mounting for the week at near the end of the week, and then I would start that whole process over again. I think that's coming later in your questions, but
Yeah, that's amazing that you have that already kind of established. I mean, you've been doing this for 3 years. I don't know if that like really occurred to you before getting involved in this interview, because we're coming up on that 3 year mark for you.
yes, yes. I'm blown away because it's gone by so fast. It's been. I feel like I'm on a ride. I'm just buckled up on.
Yeah, I can definitely relate with that, but something like this that requires you to constantly improve your skills, and through that you're also refining your eye for it, and so over time it just, I mean, if you look at your first mount compared to what you're doing now, it's probably a huge difference, and just, but it probably feels like the time just flew by.
Yes, and that's one reason I haven't even taken on anything else yet. I would love to go and do another course, but I really want to feel like I'm mastering whitetail. I did my first mule deer this year. I actually did my first hog. And so outside of like people just being wonderful customers and saying, let me be a guinea pig, like I don't care how it turns out. Um, I want to I want to be able to know that I feel like I've mastered one species before I jump into another one.
Nice. Yes. So now let me get back into that basic whitetail course, because that's kind of what led you into this now endeavor. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I read from Dad's post about you guys is these two are going to be famous. This was one of the best and most memorable weeks I have had as an instructor. I'm looking forward to seeing them grow their skills and their business. So I told you, now I'm dying to know what the week was like and why it was so memorable for my dad, and maybe for y'all too.
Well, well, whenever I say taxidermy tech fit us like a glove, I think Mr. Ken like fit us like a glove. He was so warm. Like he just had this love for what he did and a love to instruct. And my mom's an instructor, so I know like what that's like from her heart. And he just did it so well. He made us feel at such ease. Like anytime that we seemed like we were feeling nervous, he just had this ability to say, "Hey, it's no big deal." But he also um, made us feel so much stronger as a couple because he discussed how I would do something a certain way, and then Jimbo had this other way, and how we would be create such a dynamic team when it came to finalizing things. And it's really interesting. And I don't think I've even shared this with him, but even though Jimbo isn't as involved with like a lot of my labor and the other things that I do, like he is very much so my eyes. Because by the time I get to the end of my day, I've got like two on the table and I've worked through them. I'm exhausted. And I have been looking at him for so long, and he can come up and say, "Hey, this looks like it's just a little wonky," and he can nitpick, but because like we're best friends, he we're also able to work together very well, and I can say, "Okay, I know what you're saying, and I can do this," and he'd be like, "Yeah, that's perfect. That's good right there." And so he told us in class, he was like, he said, you guys are going to be so good for one another. He said, he's got this and you've got that. And I didn't really even realize or pay that much attention to it until probably like this last year, because doing the amount of deer that I've done, and my little girl's been helping me out as well, and she's 13. But the processing and going through and just a laborious week in general, by the time I do get to mount day, I'm tired, and so those extra eyes mean the world, like to me. And so he just took us from what I felt like was the brink of a like, hey, let's step out and let's try to get our feet wet. And he just nurtured us and pushed us and motivated us. Like when I say we went home to the hotel, like we weren't kicking our feet up and resting for the evening, even though we were completely exhausted. We're online ordering supplies. We were talking about the building of our future in this hotel in Pensacola, and we were talking about what we wanted for our family. And he just nurtured all of that and gave us such hope in what we were doing. And we were taking all those things in, but then we were completely overwhelmed when we saw him post that on, I think it was like day 5. And we were like just like sitting back, and we are just like, oh my gosh, like he gave us such a compliment in his simple little paragraph that he put, but it felt like such a compliment. I mean, it really did. And I think going from there, he's been nothing but like the best mentor I've ever had. Outside of my parents and God, he's been so wonderful. Like I can call him at the whim, and I know if he doesn't answer, he's going to give me a call back within 15 minutes or so. I can shoot him a text, send him a picture or something. He's always there. And so it was one of the most memorable weeks, I think, of our life, but it was the start week of something enormous for us. And so I don't know what all was his takeaway from that week, but if I had to describe it in a nutshell, it was a week of hope, and it was a week of just motivation and encouragement, and there it just took off from there, and we've been going ever since and growing ever since.
That's really amazing, and it differs a lot from some of the kind of, well, when people go into this by themselves, when you go into this kind of work and you didn't know, first of all, you guys were already a little bit experienced in the Euros, and so you kind of have some kind of experience, some of the work that goes into it, but like you said, like you find out that there's a lot more that goes into it. And so it's nice that you had the support of one another, and then also the mentor saying that it's going to be really helpful for you to lean on one
Yeah.
another and encourage
Yes.
you to do that.
Yeah, it was like he just it was like he saw our capabilities to help one another and be a team more so than we really did, because we mounted a deer together. The first deer that we put together together.
Mhm.
But the two other ones, I mounted one for my dad and he mounted one for his dad. Our parents, both sets of parents, actually helped pay for our course and then sent us with a deer of his dad's and a deer of my dad's that they wanted refurbished mounts done on. And so there was a lot of sentimental memories that were also made there. We got to put those together, bring them back for our families. But so much support also. But he somehow he saw something in us that we didn't really even see in ourselves at that time frame and where we were. And he nurtured that, and I feel like he really gave us a a lot of sense of clarity about what we could use to benefit us together in our walk and what we're doing.
Very nice. So you've talked a bit already about what you've been doing since you've taken the course, but if there's anything else within the past 3 years about, once you got back from the course, you went straight into it because you already had work in the freezer. So, and beyond that, you've already taken in a lot of work. So I guess we could just kind of anything else that you'd like to add to what you've experienced in the past 3 years as your business has grown so much.
I have done a lot of research. That was another thing Mr. Ken said, like research and trust the process of things. And that was one of the key things that he's always said was trust the process. And I use that in the shop all the time, especially with my daughter. But you talked about interviewing women. It's funny, like when I first started, I was just like, there's got to be an easier way. Like and it was nothing against like how we're taught or anything like that. But when I left, I was just like, this is really difficult for me to do. Like maybe it was the amount of time I spent on the fleshing wheel. It was exhausting. Like I did pretty much all of our fleshing on our deer while we were there at the course. And then I got one not long after we got back. And the amount of time I was spending on the wheel was exhausting. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And I just started doing a lot of research and got some equipment built here at the shop for me that really I feel like helped me as a female. And I say that I'm a very independent female. So I like to be able to do a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, we are women. And so we don't always have the strength capabilities that a man would have. Jimmo can come in and lift something and do something for me. And I've been like, oh, this has been killing me all day. And so I did spend a lot of time trying to hack some things down that really helped me um, to make the process easier. And so we actually pressure flush here now, which is not something that I knew anything about until I started doing a lot of research. And I did a lot of research to get to where I'm at. But I just really liked what I got. That I liked the product that I got out of that. And I do that before I tan. And then I had my dad is a welder and my brother as well, and they own a welding business here in our county, and he can build anything that comes to mind. And so I literally drew out my idea for a mounting stand. I was like, man, Dad, I'm thinking about like a fire pole or something that I can have with swinging arms. I can move it wherever I need to, and da 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 da. And man, he built me the most neat mounting stand. And I just got he finished my drying stand this past week. So I just got that mounted in the back half. And so I actually can just, when I get done mounting, I can just take them off my mount pole, put them on my dry pole, and then move my next set of mounts up. And I'm in one standard location, not all over the shop. And just fine tuning some things for me, like and I feel like with taxidermy, it's very very individually driven. Like everybody's different. It's not always the same for somebody else. And so when I got home, like, man, Mr. Ken was like, there is nothing that I can't fix. That's what he told me. Now, so I took that and I was like, you know what? There is nothing that I can't come up with to figure out. I'm going to figure it out. And God has blessed me with people to help me, build and create. And so outside of school, and working a lot, I just have been working to try to make it easier and make the job easier and make the process easier and smoother and simpler for me.
Oh, I love that. That's really nice because I was going to ask you, and I think this is part of what you're saying about your process. So there, I'm loving to hear that you have stations set up. I think this is probably one of the most key important elements of efficient work in this kind of creative space, because your stuff can just get sprawled
Mhm.
everywhere. I mean, at the end of every single day, we're picking up
Yeah.
tools. That's the most important
Yeah.
thing, is 30 minutes before the shift's done, you're picking up the tools and putting them in places. And for
Yeah.
you to have a designated space for this is hanging here, and then I can just easily move it over here. So let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit then and describe a little bit into that process as far as how you schedule work, order supplies, and then your actual process of doing the work.
So my process generally, like in the shop, and this is just what I have figured out for me. And I'm very busy. Like I do a lot. My husband and I are youth leaders at our church. We've been there for 15 years. And we've been very blessed to be able to be there in ministry. So and then I coach here and there. My daughter and my son are both athletic. My husband and I too. We just played church league games last night. So I'm busy, like I have a life, and this is just my job. So my mindset is to get. I don't want to have it to where I don't still have my life, and I don't still have my capability to do other things. And don't get me wrong, it can get consuming, especially this time of the year right now. It's a lot. And we have a lot of deer coming in, but I feel like if you in the shop, if you can make things run smoother, then it helps things go a little more efficiently. So I normally turn at the first part of the week. So normally I pull hides on Sunday. So I'm not in the shop like working on Sunday. That's just a pet peeve of mine. Monday I come in and we turn. And then I do a lot of times I do paperwork on Mondays. I do my ordering and things like that. I order like 10 forms at a time, and eyes and others, odd and end supplies. And that kind of has been a good number for me. I kind of run through my numbers. I know I'm ordering 10 at a time. I do a lot of that stuff on Mondays. Tuesdays is flushing day. And so that's outside. And we do all of the pressure flushing outside, and then tanning. And then there those are, and I'm a week to 2 weeks actually ahead on my tanning process. So I always have my hides that I'm needing to mount. They're already ready to go. And it takes a little bit to get there, but that can happen. And so I do, and I do 3 deer at a time. So three turnings, three fleshings, three tannings at a time. And then Wednesdays are my light days because they're my church day. And I do normally my touch up work on Wednesday, so my airbrushing and stuff like that from my deer from the week before. And I do my airbrushing, get everything hung up, and my as long as my drying is working like I've got it. And then I start prepping everything for the mounting for Friday and Saturday. Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. It just depends. If we have something going on Saturday, I'm not going to mount, then I mount Thursday or Friday. And so then I'm mounting up and getting ready and spend my day, early morning flesh. And because of my pressure flushing, I only spend like 20 to 25 minutes on the flushing wheel, where I was spending 2 hours per hide pretty much. So that has been a huge help to me. And you end up with a really great, clean hide that's going into your tan too. And I'm OCD about a lot of things. And so that was another thing that I liked about that. But anyway, getting things down to a science, I think, has helped. And I'm not down to a science yet by any means. I'm working to get there. And then I mount up, and then things are starting to dry. I send pictures to customers, say, hey, does this look okay? And you're happy with it? And they say, yeah, then we rolling with it, drying, and we start the whole week over.
Wow. I love that. I love the efficiency. I love how you have it set up like that. And I think that's something that people can aspire to, because it's not easy to just go directly into that, especially when you start out
Yeah.
part-time. It's not
Yeah.
you're gonna walk through the same animal through the whole thing. So, but to
Yeah.
something to aspire to, especially once you get into this kind of And you have it to a specific type of animal too, so that makes it to where
Yeah.
it's just running the same program.
Yes.
You did say that you've experimented now on a couple of different types of animals. So, my questions here are, what's your favorite animal to work on? And then also, have you ever mounted anything that you're just like, I'm never doing that again at this point so far?
So the hog that's over here was a guinea pig situation. So this couple came in and got a hog and wanted to know if I'd be willing to mount it. I'd never done it before. And so told it, they said, if it doesn't turn out, you can just do a European. And so I was like, okay, that'll work out because we can offer you that. That's no big deal. And long story short, and your dad will know this was something we could not fix. They had shot the deer in the head the hog in the head at some point. And so when Jimbo went to get me those tusks, he came back in and he was like, yeah, you're going to have to make that work because the skull's in a bunch of different pieces. And I was like, what? Like, I have to make it work now? I have to make, okay. And up until mount day, the hog was a job. I mean, they have a very thick shield on them. And I was not thinking that was going to be as bad as what it was. And it was rough. It was bad. I probably worked on his shield for at least 2 hours just on the shield. And so, and it being my first one, I was so nervous and worried about every little thing too. So I probably spent a lot of extra time, but when I got it done, I was very happy, very, very happy with how he turned out. But I don't know that I would do anymore. It was just a lot. I've gotten about the mule deer, which I feel like is, in the same species of deer. Like, I'm comfortable with deer. But and I actually have my first axis coming up this season. I'm excited about that. And so yeah, but I would say the hog, but my daughter skinned out 2 skunks yesterday. And so I would think that above all things, that will be the thing that we don't touch anymore. The neutralizing thing that was supposed to work it was not very good. It was bad. And I made her go outside and get away. And somebody came by there and they were like, you need to probably take that to the back 40. And I'm like, yeah, way back. I don't have a lot to say of something that I wouldn't try. Again, I feel like I'm very optimistic and I want to give things a chance. But the hog was a lot.
Fair. I do actually have one more question that I've been asking everybody, is if there's anything that you have to say to my dad or anything that you want to say about him.
I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Ken, for giving us such a love for this. Me particularly. And for creating such a neat, showing us the neat aspects of taxidermy, but also creating and showing us what the future in the taxidermy world could look like for us and for our family. And I feel like we're growing so fast. And I feel like that has so much to do with how much he poured into us in that week, and how much he showed us, how much he seemed to, I know that not seemed, because I know he cares for us very much. He's always there. And I want to thank him for not only being a mentor to me and my husband, but to everybody else that's out there that comes to school. I just recommended you guys to a woman that was here in the shop the other day, and she had a teenager that's wanting to get into taxidermy. And I was like, she said she had saw Taxidermy Tech. I was like, go there, it's worth it. And so thank you for making it worth it, and creating a love in us, and showing us how we could best use ourselves together, and helping us build our future. because that's pretty much what we did in a week.
What an amazing story. And thank you so much for taking the time out because, like you said, this is a really busy time for taxidermists. So thank you, Jessica. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person in the future. And good luck to you with your business. I do want to ask where people can find you in the physical. We've already talked about where your shop's located.
We're White Oak Taxidermy. We're in Madison, Florida. The only form of advertisement that we do is Facebook. No sponsorships, no nothing. I'm just easy going, and I manage like 6 pages on Facebook, so I'm doing good to keep this one going. And but you can check us out on there on Facebook, and it's under White Oak Taxidermy. It's like a black background with white deer horns. There is another White Oak Taxidermy that somebody else found that's like up north somewhere or some. Anyway, that's not us. Black background, white horns, Madison, Florida, is us. And yeah, and my phone's up on the page. You can give us a call if anybody is nearby and they want to drop by. I always am here majority of the time, so they can come in and check out the showroom. A lot of people like to come to the back of the shop and they just want to see what I'm working on, and they want to see what deer are here, and just get a lot of visitors all the time, which is great because we like people, we enjoy people, we enjoy good fellowship, and we're getting a lot of really great customers and that are becoming like family and friends. So just to try to build a good atmosphere and create a love for taxidermy and create a way to cherish people's memories. And it's really funny because Allison, I watched her interview and she said something about like everybody that comes, they go straight to my husband. I'm like, yep, that's pretty much how it works. Like they all go directly to him, and he's always like, no, she's the one you want to talk to about that. And they're like, oh, okay.